my teaching objective for the day, my objectives for today. We will have a skills objective, right? And the skills objective will be some art tips. Art tips for children as well as for adults. We do a tapestry from here on. We weave in a little of this and a little of that with our main program. And then when we focus on art, you've already had some exposure to some of the ideas. Okay, so we'll have a little skills lesson before we start. We're going to today master, and it's my obligation, mind you, I'm not just talking about this book. It's not, you don't have to worry, you just have to sit in your chair. I have to teach you. And if you don't learn it, I haven't taught you. That's the whole goal. That's the goal of this book. Anybody who takes this position makes that commitment. So some people are worried, oh, well, I learned this one. That's not your problem, it's my problem. So we're going to master the 7 maxims and the 7 maximizers of the longer learner. Okay? We want to include a little IIT program here. IIT. This is a big term in India, right? Everybody wants to go to IIT. The IIT behind their names. Well, after this class, you'll be part of IIT. Okay, what is IIT? When we were doing teacher training in the Gurukula, we did many dramas. So we played on the IIT, and we called it Instructional and Interactive Theater. Okay? Instructional and interactive theater. So whenever we do little skits, or somebody does a dramatic reading, or we have some kind of a dialogue, or somebody tells a story, it's part of our IIT plan. Every day we want to have a little IIT. Sound good, Govinda? Bhagavinda? Okay. So you can add that to your name now. Bhagavinda IIT. Okay, we'll have a little bit of that. And we'll be seeing, we're going to be having as part of our dramas, we're going to be having the 3 styles, student-oriented and subject-oriented adults reading their parts dramatically. Mind you, this is drama. It's not just a reading. We're going to really juice it up for the camera. And the children are going to be what the kids say. What do children say? Okay, so we'll put a few little happy faces here. And what do the children say about school? Is it good or bad, right? And when they say things, what type of a solution should that mean for us? Right? If we hear children saying something that indicates they're not happy, then we have to figure out, well, what's the solution? What's the adjustment? Okay? So they're going to be reading some lines from Wilkinson that he has 7 little problems you often hear children describe, and how we do that. Okay? So that's our IIT portion. And then, of course, we'll have a break. The drama will be at the very end. And during this present period here, the children will be involved a little bit at the end, but we also want to give them their art project every day. So art will be introduced at the beginning of each session, so they have an assignment. Yeah. Okay, and I actually asked this morning the mother of one of my first private students, Kishori's mom, Jamuna, if she could find Jamuna's old art book. Remember I told you how we saved it? And then the children would do something at home and they'd bring it in every day. And she says, I have it somewhere. She'll try to find that so I can show you what one of my 5-year-olds used to do as a progression. You can see how it works. It's just, you do something every day, eventually you get good. Just even by practice, even without that much instruction, you just start getting better and better. Okay, so the children can see how we'll start to set up their notebooks. All right, we'll take a break then, and then the second portion will be the phonograms. And we do not have at our disposal the laminations ready. I submitted them to the photocopy person so that by tomorrow, perhaps, everybody will have this sheet. And then study would be easier. But it's not such a big group that we can't manage, I think, with the help of this. All right. And the objective today is I have to teach you 75. With the children, it may take a little bit more time, but with the adults, it is possible. It can be done. All right? And it's the same approach we use with everything, task analysis. We analyze the task before we start. And some of you may not realize it, but you're task analyzing all the time. As mothers, you have to prepare meals, right? So you have to think about the budget, you have to think about what's available in the market, and what would be a balanced diet today and different variety, and what's good for my children's health and interests. So you're always task analyzing. It's nothing new. I think we just sometimes fail to apply what we already do to a circumstance we're not so familiar with. So just the things you normally do, you do it when you're teaching. You just task analyze. That's Spalding's term, task analysis. So we have to learn 70 phonograms today. And we're going to start with a little saying. I like to think, little words of wisdom. And I'll write this one out because when I was training teachers, I felt that this was the highest meditation that we could have. Okay. Can you all see that? Everybody can read that? Okay. Okay, who would like to read that? Hare Krishna. Can you see it? Okay. Who would like to read that? You want to read that?
When I teach a child, I see Krishna there assessing me.
So if we keep that mindset, that's what because it's reality. It's reality. It's reality. On all levels, Paramatma level, Krishna level. When I teach a child, I see Krishna there assessing me. This is actually the attitude of a topmost devotee in terms of dealing with any other living entity. And just because there are children, sometimes familiarity makes us forget the ultimate principle. But we shouldn't. And I remember Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati used to say, whenever I meet someone, it's my Guru Maharaj instructing me. So these are the top flight Vaishnavas who see that. They either see the Guru coming to instruct them, they either see Krishna there evaluating them. And actually the whole Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati has described the whole material world as an examination hall. Every one of us is being assessed at every moment by the devas on all levels. What we think, what we say, what we do. And that assessment chart is going on right now. And it'll go on as long as we're in this material world. So it isn't that we're just coming up with something Wilkinson gave us as an assessment chart, or what professionals tell us how we should be with our children, what should be our goals, our attitudes, our mindsets, our commitment. It's actually, because we are endeavoring to be Krishna conscious, it is actually the ultimate goal. And if you can keep that little saying in the back of your mind, I think you'll get a lot of help from above. And you certainly won't make mistakes, good ones. Mistakes come when we forget. Okay, so far so good? And the thing I liked about Wilkinson's book, perhaps over and above many of the other books on education, is that even though, he's coming from a tradition of Christianity, which is not as Jaiva Dharma standards, anyway, it's not as evolved as the Vedic conclusion, but he does have Paramatma realization. He has Paramatma realization. I don't know, Anita, welcome, how are you? So, I think that's why this book is so powerful. It's always coming true. Right. Now, in order to begin, our first objective is a skill, and that's an art skill. Simple little thing. Everybody has these thick marker sets. Did you all have thicker ones? Good. And we're going to give you a little art, this is our skills objective for today, a way to improve your mind mapping, your note-taking for impact. Remember, we have 3 objectives: knowledge, skills, and values. So shadowing is a tip today. We'll always give you a little art tip. Actually, artists are like that. They're like everybody else. Cookie makers, bakers, they've got a little secret that makes it come out well. It's nothing that difficult. Okay, so if you all pick 2 colors that you like from your set, that you think go together well. Pink and blue, orange and yellow, orange and green. The thicker set. And if you don't have thick ones, perhaps you kindly can borrow one of the thick ones from a neighbor. Okay? Now, I actually do this a lot. If I get out my charts here, you can see. So that, because with flip charts, so they show up from a distance, if you see practically everything I ever wrote, I would shadow it. Otherwise, it looks weak. I can find some other ones here. Well, this is a good one. We're going to talk about this today, communication. So with one color, just start with a simple shape, a straight line. So make a straight line on your paper. Maybe I'll just hold this over here. I think that will stand. Okay. It's not that this is important right now as material, but just the example. So if you just take, and I'll do it large here. Yeah, it's just a simple principle, but really makes your mind mapping easier to spot and easier to study. And remember, that's the whole idea. Everything we do is to enhance the learning rate and retention. Okay, so I'll make a straight pink line. Okay, straight line. And then you take your other color, whatever other color you decided. And a shadow means the light source is coming from one direction. So that means whatever's on the other side of that object will be casting a shadow. For instance, there's a light behind me, so there's a shadow in front of me. All right. So in shadowing, and you can check on your computer when you do that, on the right side of every vertical, you take the other color and you make another line. And if we put a cross piece on the bottom of this, remember we're doing IIT today. IIT. I think our people from Kirkwood will miss that one. We missed our little IIT fun. Okay. Every horizontal, if you have it, it's underneath, right? And here's a tiny vertical here, right? Now if it's above, you don't do it. And here's a horizontal, so you go underneath. So everything that's vertical, you put a line to the right. Everything that's horizontal, you put a line underneath. And you have just shadowed a form. And you can see it better, right? And if you want to add further impact, I usually take a finer pen, and we've ordered this for you and for the children. These are a bit costly, but I can't live without them, and they're part of my Betty Edwards program. These Pilot fine line ink pens, they're echomorphotograph. You can then take this, and with a hairline, because that's on your computer too. It's all on the computer, hairline, right? You could put another little accent here, right? Just another accent, a hairline accent on all your shadowing. And suddenly what looked pretty weak on the page, it jumps. That's the technical term in design. It stands out. It just, like embossing. So whenever you make charts, because you see, if I were to just do these charts from a distance with just a straight line, no impact. But you notice how I took black and I shadowed everything. So if you're doing notes, or if you have to make charts in school, or teach children how to make charts in school, it gives them much more impact. And here I do with colors. Oh, Krishna. Maybe I can, sorry. You can do it with colors, you can do it, okay, yeah, that's good. Yeah, you can split it up here. We've had it with the Law of the Learner as well. There we go. And it's quite fun. You can put all kinds of colors together, whatever. And it just makes things jump. You see how, especially if you have quite a bit of information, and you can make colors vibrate. You know, like if you can put purples with pinks or something like that, it just adds some vitality so it doesn't look flat or boring. Okay. And this is a tapestry. This is actually what we're going to be doing. We're going to the tapestry means we're going to be taking certain themes, and we're going to be taking other objectives, and we're going to be weaving in many, many little skills and ideas and models. It's like, it will have a main program, but we'll be adding a little dressing, so it's not too dry. It's not too dry. And here we had our laws again, right? Learner, expectation. Again, you can see a little bit of a black line to the right of all verticals and beneath all horizontals, and your posters and your mind maps have more impact. So today, try that. Okay? Use your bolder markers, and you have your nice little new Pilot pens, and your little mind maps, even though small and so insignificant, even from a distance, will jump. Okay? And then when you're studying, or your kids are studying, and they have a skill. So that's today's skill, how to shadow your artwork. Okay. So now we can, Portal, you want to put it down again? We need to get back to the board. Now the children have an art tip today too. They're going to be drawing. So do they all have their paper? We have to get them going because they have an assignment. They actually have an assignment today. Do we have the pads of paper? Now yesterday some of them were using the full white sheets, but I want them to use the smaller pad, the one that's a little bit less than A4. So can we all give the children that so we can get started? And they'll need their Radhakund books or Govardhan books or whatever one they chose. Remember we gave them those pads that were about this big? You have that? Yes, this
छोटा
size.
पैड दिया
This size. The size that Radhikanta has. Hold it up. Do you all have this from yesterday?
We have this size, madam. Wait, no.
We handed this out. Didn't we hand this out?
We have this one.
I don't know
Wait afterwards, right?
Oh. I brought some yesterday. I brought 3 yesterday.
Even this size.
Well, that'll be okay for now. Okay, I want something a little smaller than too big. For 2 reasons. One, we need some margin in the amount. And 2,
We've taken it.
okay.
because I had the other day I had given them.
Yeah, I know we handed out some, so maybe, but it's this particular size. I brought in 3 yesterday, and they're specifically for the children.
Thank you.
And I may seem a little bit picky on this, but actually, whatever I did as an art teacher, I would try to plan a project so that the results looked as professional as possible. You know, we would just do little things that would be okay if you could take the page out, but these other pads are better because you can just tear out the page. I don't know what happened to them all. They vanished, huh?
Sure, because
Anyway, we can get some more.
Few sheets. Few sheets.
Anyway, the idea is the child should have a piece of paper and it should be separated from the book. So the pads are good because that's good. Okay. All right, are you ready for your art tip? Now the parents can listen to this too, but especially for the children.
ठीक है तो give it. Yes, he is getting. I think there are 2 upstairs, but we had 10 distributed. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe they somehow got pretty good. This is light.
छोटे वाले नहीं है बड़े वाले जिसको छोटा नहीं मिला ना वो बड़ा वाला फिक्स होगा
अगर वो होना तो चाहिए ना। तो ये एक ही है।
अनीता को एक बड़ा दिया और दो वाले भी आए हाँ ये वाला स्मॉल वाला ये वाला big वाला
अच्छा।
एंड जिसको छोटा नहीं था उनको बड़ा दे
पर वो 2 ही हो रहे हैं ना, वो 10
वो
नहीं।
और ये 2 है 2 करवाते जाए थे
उनको हमने नहीं दिए।
नहीं दिया
उनके पास वो अपना है, पहले से ही कर रहे हैं।
Just give them, even if it's a small piece, and we'll get started. Okay? No problem. Just now give them a smaller piece. Here's
So
the,
he is
here's,
getting it till the time you can explain.
explain. Okay,
You
here's the
can explain.
principle.
He is getting it.
Okay, here's the principle. The children have, you all have these 3-ring notebooks, right? And this is going to be your portfolio. And inside, we've arranged for you to have, filler sheets, plastic sheets. I think the first day when I wasn't well, Srinanta gave everybody filler sheets.
Yeah.
Okay, and they have the little perforations in the ring, okay? And the idea is, for both teachers and children, if you notice, I use these, when I'm photocopying a particular sheet, I put the multiples in a plastic filler sheet, and I keep those in my files. That way, if I want 7 laws of the learner, I just go to this page and I pull out as many multiples as I have. It's a filing system for you as teachers. Any information you want to keep in multiples, you keep it in a filler sheet. That way they don't get lost and it's practical. And I have many, many folders with all my teaching materials. So when anybody comes to me, I may already have on hand something to hand out. So for the teachers, the filler sheets are applicable. For the children, the filler sheets are their portfolio, and we put a piece of paper in the filler sheet so that it's the mat or the mount. And we can put a plain color, white or pink or blue or yellow, doesn't matter. We can get more creative. For now, I just had white on hand. But the children's art should be done on a smaller piece of paper. That way, on both sides of the filler sheet, you can mount the piece, and there is what is called the margin, which is what makes your piece look important. It's the frame. So that's why I would set up, when I set it up, we had A4 filler sheets and pads that were a little bit smaller. So that when they do their artwork, and then also sometimes we take another pretty color and we just mount it on another little color for the hairline outline. You know, and then it really looks finished. That's the way the framers do it. If you want to frame a picture, they put a double matte, and you'll see you get a pretty color around the thing. It picks up the thing, and suddenly the children's work, they feel it looks important, and it does. A piece that would be ready for the bin, off and on I was teaching in America, children were about ready to throw something in the bin. I quickly extract it from their hands, mount it, put it on another background, and all of a sudden they thought, gee, I didn't realize it looked that good. 90% of art is presentation. Same in cooking. Somebody can fix the same meal and serve it to you fast in the prasadam hall. Somebody else, like Kurma, and wow, your appetite just went up, right? So artists know that. 90% of the impact is presentation. So when we're teaching children art, we teach them the art of presentation. Otherwise, their things will just look like they're ready for the bin. It's a secret. It's a hack for them. Okay? So that's study skill, art skill number 2. Always have a mount. And even if you're doing a drawing, put a line around it. It just sets it off. It defines the format. Okay? And for those of you who missed the IIT, one of our objectives today, our teachers in this class will be students of IIT. Whenever we do a drama, whenever we did drama in the Gurukula for teacher training, we called it instructional and interactive theater. So whenever we do plays here, you'll be part of IIT. Okay, so now I think we have everybody, the children have their objectives. You've all acquired your new skills objectives, and apply these skills. You see they make a difference. They're the secrets of art. Like the way of cooking, secrets of art. Nothing's that difficult. And secret doesn't mean we don't tell anybody. Secret means it's just what makes it work. Like the secret of making a good cookie. Okay. All right, so now we need to take out our 7 laws of the learner, the first study sheet that we have given you. These were all created years ago. You need a set?
They're asking if already there is a border, do they need to make another border on the sheet which...
Oh, on the paper, show me what she means. She means that nobody has a border.
They are already sticking it on another paper.
Uh-huh.
So they need to make again a border before...
It's nice to draw a line because in the mind it established a format. And we studied Betty Edwards. Format is a critical thing. It means what I do with positive and negative spaces. Those are the 3 aspects of design. The format establishes the positive and the negative. Otherwise, the thing diffuses. And they tend to put something anywhere. They don't think, and you saw that yesterday, but later we work on training them to be designers. That means whatever I do has an important position within a format. Round, square, long. It is the difference between a pro and an amateur. Yes.
You have an extra copy of this?
Yes, we have extra copies.
For Radha.
Is there anyone else who needs the 7 laws of the learner's study sheets?
Only.
Just you, okay. And you see again how handy these plastic things are. There you go. That's right, you don't have one. Now, everything is a learning experience. In a way, it looks as though we haven't gotten started. But if you think about it, we're learning. Right? We're always learning tips. Tips, how to manage things, how to organize things, how to make our mind maps. Everything we do is instructive. Everything we do is instructive. And influential. Whether we like it or not. Okay. All right. Let us now turn if you take a look at these, this is the glory of Mother Pajavali. She was the secretary. She was the secretary in the Gurukula when I was doing the seminars. And she designed these and made these up for me. So at the time they were like 3-page folders, you know, they were separate, we didn't have this in book. And it can teach you how to maximize handouts. You know, like if you go someplace and somebody wants to give you a handout on the hospice or something, you can do it as a tiny little thing. So here we have the title, 7 Laws of the Learner. And then on the back, questions, and then notes you can take. You know, a clever way to do when you have seminars or something. And then inside, look how nicely she designed this. Real bold numbers. 7 maxims, 7 maximizers. And then in the center, 5 ingredients, 3 relationships. And then this was part of my own idea. Assessment blocks. Very handy. What I think now, and then 1 month from now, what I think, or what I do. Because already you're changing. You're already changing. From the day before we started today, I think you're all quite different. You've already experienced the mind shift, the paradigm shift, which is the whole essence of this. Okay? Okay? There's still a little bit of humming in the back. So if we can just have them get to work on their art.
You don't have to use a ruler.
No ruler, no. Because it should be consistent. Everything has a rule. If I use a ruler, then everything should be done with a ruler. If I use freehand, everything should be done freehand. Otherwise it's rasabasa. Doesn't work. And you can become quite skilled without a ruler. Okay. All right, are we ready? We have a lot of work to do. So what we're doing now is what we did with the book. Before you start reading anything, you analyze my materials, right? So, you got your cover, back questions, a place for notes. We have 7 maxims, 7 maximizers. We have our evaluation blocks. At the bottom we have our stages, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, never, rarely, sometimes, often, and always. Okay? So this is a time now to be introspective. Really look inside ourselves and ask us honestly as we learn these. We're going to first memorize the minimum. Memorize the minimum, master the minimum, and then we're going to go through on a deeper level and reflect. But the first thing is to just get it down. But our first step in all endeavors, whether you get a book, whether you get a study sheet, you analyze it. Okay? And then you can appreciate what goes into it, and you can get ideas for what to do on your next on your next handout, okay? Or how to make something up. Okay. All right. 7. We'll do them separately. We'll turn to a new page in your mind map book, and now you've got a new skill. Turn to a blank page, and we're going to go over again. We're going to make a new page. Remember the other day we did the 7? We did a spaceship, but today we're going to break it down because that was just a quick overview. And we're going to put the recall codes. So the secret is to heighten interest, motivate people, get them curious, like find out. It's all like a drama, really. Teaching is drama. Every life is drama. You want to heighten interest. So you don't tell people everything. You heighten their curiosity. What does 100% mean? Okay. Now use your fat markers. I see some of you reverting to your thin ones. Use your fat ones. It'll make a big difference. Your mind map should look like this one. It'll make a big difference when you're studying. Use your, those thick ones, right? Make your circle with a big one. You're probably just not used to them. But as artists, whatever your scale of impact, if you need a 4-inch brush to make a poster, that's what you use. You don't use a hairline pen. And learn to, you'll learn to be free with it too. Just go quick. That's good. So you should have a circle in one color and 7 eyelashes in that color. And then you can go along and now do your little art skill today. Take your second color and shadow it, whatever color you wanted. Whatever 2 colors please you. And you can see now your mind map has a little more impact. Isn't that easier to read? These are all the tricks of the trade. And it should go underneath. Underneath, yeah. That's better. The shadowing under every horizontal and on the side of every vertical. You have equipment, Margie? Are you doing okay? All right. I'm not able to move around the room. If it were a classroom with chairs and things. Actually, two principles. As an art teacher, I never sat and I never stood in one place. Here I can't move around. I mean, I had to watch 40 kids who were painting and move around. So I just sort of have to try to look over and see what you're doing. Okay? Hold them up so far. Let's see if they're showing more impact. Hold them up. Much better. You can see that better. Super. Good. That looks nice and bright. Good. You can see these are good. Use your thick ones. Well, you can use your, use your thick ones. Good. Now, let us go back and add the details. Take advantage of the tip. If you don't apply the tip, no benefit. It has a reason. Unfortunately, on the whiteboard, I can't do that. On a chalkboard, I take chubby chalk, sidewalk chalk, turn it sideways. I actually like chalkboards better than these. I can do more, especially with the phonogram. Okay, 100%, that was our first one, right? And our second one was the peacock feather. Okay. That was our second memory link. Because what we're doing is we're establishing memory links. Things that make it easy for us to remember concepts, points, ideas at a glance. When we speak, when we study, when we just function. We can recall something without too much difficulty. The more you encumber it with words and details and clutter, you can't remember it. So we keep it simple. And remember, pictures are very powerful. So when we give you some drawing tips, this is good. Okay, our next one was SSS. Remember that one? Do you recall that one? That first day we were doing the recall codes and we were putting them on the map. SSS. So our first one, everyone say 100%? 100%. Peacock feather, SSS. Okay, and our next one was 100% what? Equals 100%. Okay, now nobody knows what we're talking about. That's good. I mean, unless you read the paper. But the idea is to pique their curiosity. Because that way people are attentive. If you just tell them everything and don't add some suspense, then they just go, the mind goes into neutral. And then they just shut off. Okay? Okay, and then after this one, SSS, and I think the next one was C. C is greater than C. This was our mathematical formula. CC is greater than C. Okay. And the next one was servant, right? Everybody's a servant of Krishna.
Master.
And the last one?
Master.
Master, okay. All right. Now, these are not hard for anybody to remember, right? Let's try testing ourselves now a little bit with numbers. So let's make it, every time you learn something, it's a little easier. You test it in another way with children to make it a little more difficult, okay, from every angle. Okay, so now I want everybody to look at this and image it. And we're going to put the numbers 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 7. Now, you don't have your children in the classroom. If you have a lot of children and you're one person, you can't test them one-to-one. So what I did was I peer tutored. Every child had a buddy. And we usually took the stronger child academically and paired him up with the weaker child academically. And they sat next to each other and we paired the desks like this. So whenever we taught something, in order to be sure we met our objective within the time frame, we peer tutored and we checked. So it's easier to check a peer tutor team than it is to go around and check each child. And the team would put its hand up and say, we know this. Now we can't do this now because you're all seated with kids and you can't move around. But you should peer, if you're together or something, you peer tutor. Now let's give it an example, you two. All right, without looking at your notebooks, and if you could do it, you two, and maybe you two, and you two in a way you can, and maybe you two, and there, maybe you can peer tutor with, oh, you're back here. Radharani, you peer tutor with Sundari, right? And you peer tutor with her. In peer tutoring, it's a study team now, and you will be this way. And that way, to get it down, you don't look at your material, you don't look at the board, you tell the person the memory links. Okay, so you'll say to him 100%, Peacock Feather, SSS, 100% equals 100%, CC is greater than C, the next one, servant and master. So do that. Everybody turn around, and one person first tests the other one, and then the other person tests, and nobody's superior. You're just a team. You're a study team, and it really works at school. You establish this, and you got it. You don't have to move around, you don't have to test, and they don't report until they both master it. And you can, and your assessment is built in, and at the end of the period, I know I've taught it. Okay? Very simple technique. And so you and your children do, okay? Your team, you've mastered it, okay? Now you see how handy this is in a classroom. Solves 90% of your discipline problems, teaches accountability, teaches responsibility, teaches appreciation. It teaches everything, including the subject matter. And you don't have to work so hard. Yeah.
This is how our students study, maybe even after a Bhagavatam class, they recollect what we heard, or when they study like this.
Yeah. Actually, the Sanskrit method was two people studying together in Sanskrit. Vedic times, two people do it. This is the way you do it. And it builds relationships. You know, otherwise students are beating each other up or cheating. Or, you know, this makes them responsible. 99% of your discipline will just go away. They just go away. The whole thing. And you see, it's quiet activity. It's healthy noise. It's not. Okay, that group has mastered it. This group has mastered it. You've mastered it. We have a couple more groups yet. Okay, we've still got a couple people testing each other. Okay, everybody got it? Now, do this when you're homeschooling, because we're talking on two levels here. We're talking about homeschooling parents, we're talking about people who are teaching in a classroom, also people who are supervising and training teachers. You do this, and you will be mastering material very quickly, and you'll be bonding relationships. It's a wonderful thing to do. Peer tutoring. Wow. Can you do a second one for us? Because then you can have 2 to show at the end of the period, okay? You pick something else you want to draw. All right, now, the next principle is you go through the material, but you test it in a more difficult way. Try it backwards. Okay? Now, would you all do the same thing and try it 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1? You did that. Okay, they've already figured that out. The idea, mastery means somebody gets me from every angle and I'm not thrown off my feet. I'm not surprised. You finished. You know it backwards. Okay? Now try it random. Okay, you do backwards. So, yeah, 7, 6.
7 is master.
Master, yeah, with each other. With each other, yeah. The idea is together, this is how law school trains lawyers. I have a book on how lawyers study. It's like this. They're learning the law books by heart, and they work in teams, and it's like drill sergeants. They work together. It's a totally different species. It's a different species. And your children can do it with you too, because you know they're smarter than we think, actually. Okay?
The other way around. We have to back your kids.
Yeah, it's good. The brain is a muscle, and the more you work it, the stronger it gets. Now try it random. Test it. 3. What's number 3? And what's number 6? What's number 2? Now you're a drill sergeant. Test him. Okay, random. Okay? You've tested each other? Okay. You see how good this is? Solves your problems. The thing I liked about Wilkinson, that one page talks about discipline. Every other book, 1/3 of the book, devoted to disciplinary measures. He doesn't discuss it. Why? You don't need to. That in itself, to me, said it all. Where's the chapter on discipline? It's not there. You teach this way, there's no problem. Even already, you see the children are joining in. And the teachers are taking the role of learners. And the children are taking the role of teachers. It's an inverted coin. It's called the teacher-learner process. Okay. Everybody like this? It really works. Okay. Now, let us go one step deeper. We've all mastered the peacock feather and the 1%. And now we're ready for the material. And the material is the next logical step. It's nothing we have to scratch our minds about and think about. And this is the essence. And this first law of the learner, if you have mastered this law, all the other laws fall into place. Okay? Are we ready now? Now we'll do another teaching technique. We are going to read in unison, loudly. Is everybody prepared? Maxim number 1. And after we read in unison, and we'll make you more copies later, I want you to number in the first shadow box 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5. If this is how you feel. Now, it's a little bit sudden because we've had 2 or 3 days now, so you're not really coming upon this cold. Is everybody prepared for a reading out loud? This is very powerful. Actually, I remember one person came and did Bhagavad Gita class one. I think it was Ram Bhadra in New York. And it was brilliant. He started the class in which everybody together read all of the verses in the chapter they were covering. And God, you just felt relaxed. I was like, it was brilliant. You know, not just this sloka. You just felt like now we're going to get the whole picture and then we can focus. Okay, everybody, number one, together? Teachers are responsible to cause students to learn. Okay, now you reflect and you ask yourself, up to this point, before this class, was I a 1, a 2, a 3, a 4, or a 5? Put it down in your box, record it on your paper.
We rate ourselves.
Yes. This is, you know, what you call introspection. This whole program is not meant to talk about information objectively. This is a subjective experience, a transforming experience. Everything should be that way. So now, think before you came here. Try to go back a few days. Did I think this? Sometimes, rarely, never, often, always. Rate yourself from 1 to 5, and it doesn't matter where you work. Krishna consciousness is the same way. People are coming into Krishna consciousness from all kinds of levels of eligibility, all kinds of backgrounds. It doesn't matter where you start. That's not important. My father used to say many wise things, and one of the things he used to tell me was, he says, it doesn't matter what you are, it matters how far you've come. He had come from dire poverty and made it materially. So had my mother. And for them, you know, material America success, but they saw it in material senses, but they always felt this desire to elevate. Teachers are responsible to cause students to learn. Okay, number yourself. How did I think about this before I came to this seminar? Okay.
I have a question.
Yes.
Number is, what is higher, from 1 to 5? Like,
Yeah, here's your quote down here. 1 means I never thought that way. And there are a lot of people who still don't. 2, I rarely did. I sometimes did. I often did. I always did. Okay, did you put a number? Okay, let's move on to number 2, the peacock feather. Now, you can see why I put the 100%. This represents I'm 100% responsible to cause you to learn. I am, as a teacher of this group, taking 100% responsibility for your learning. Otherwise, I'm not teaching you. It's simple. Teach means learn. If somebody hasn't learned it, it has not been taught. It has been presented. There is a distinct difference. And you'll see this in Spalding, you'll see this in Wilkinson, you'll see this in any other book on education. The misconception in education is that presenting information is teaching. It's PI, it's not mastery. Teaching means the material has been learned at the level of mastery, not just shaky. So when you're teaching your children at home, when you're teaching your children in the Gurukula, anyone claims, what do you teach? I teach math. Do I present math or do I teach math? There's a big difference. Do I present the Bhagavatam? Do I teach the Bhagavatam? There's a big difference. Okay? That is the crux of the whole thing. Yes.
So does that mean that it doesn't depend on the ability of the student at all?
That's pretty much right. They have come to you for help. They haven't come to you to waste their money. And it's a karmic responsibility too. When you come to Krishna consciousness, your responsibility goes higher than this book. There's karma involved. Yes.
It's not just
children who have been going to school past almost now 10 years. This is the first year that we'll be teaching them at home. And in the process of teaching them, at least I have come across so many concepts that is absolutely not understood, which are the basic foundation for any language, whether it may be math or science or English or whatever it may be. So we go back to that particular stage and make it thorough and then move further. Is that what
Well, this is a particular instance in question. I think at this point, can we maybe discuss this one later, okay? Because if we get into details, as we remember, let's keep the overview, and then you can maybe tell me your situation, and because questions are going to come up, and you've got a place for that on your. Okay, you note. I want to ask this later. Okay, please do that. But sometimes the format, Bhagavatam, you ask your questions at the end. Otherwise, it breaks the flow of the learning. Hold your question. I'm not denying a question, but save it for when it doesn't break the flow. Okay, number 2. Yes.
Related to this question,
Yeah.
when we are teaching a class, and there will always be some children who are stubborn and reluctant to study. And if we spend more time with them, children who have already learned, they are wasting their time. Like I heard in one preaching program, one Prabhuji was
Okay,
saying,
now, wait a minute. Let's not get diverted. These are instances that you can think about, but let's not use them to interrupt the flow. Okay? Let's just get the model down. Let's master the model. Put your question down on your question notes. Okay? This comes up. I'm not saying it's not a reality. But our objective now, save questions to the end. Is that okay? Everybody on board with that one? Because otherwise, we're not going to get done. Derailing is really a critical thing in education. Okay, our next point, and let's read it out loud. Teachers are accountable to the Lord for their influence. Now that's why we did the peacock feather. Teachers are accountable to the Lord for their influence. Rate yourself from 1 to 5. Before coming here, did you think that? Sometimes, rarely, often, never, always. 1 to 5. And this is your own business. I'm not going to come around and pass judgment on you. That's not my objective. It's not my objective at all. Every one of us is accountable. In terms of karma, every one of us is reaping the results of our previous lives. Every one of us is creating our future destiny. No one is in a position to pass judgment on another person. We may help in terms of evaluation to help a person, but actually everybody's accountable to God, whether we like it or not. And luckily we're in a God-conscious audience, but when you're in an audience that's not even God-conscious, at least they should be accountable to somebody, supervisor or somebody. That's the whole Vedic process, to get people to become accountable to higher and higher levels of authority. Yes?
Is it that we are saying that we never even thought of it?
Yeah.
Or we didn't believe in it?
Before, that you probably maybe even didn't think of it.
Yeah, I didn't think of it.
I think it's a matter you didn't think of it. Because we're raising levels of conscious awareness here. It's a fact. Sometimes it's not that you didn't believe it, it just never occurred to you. We're elevating your you get done with this program, you will be changed. I guarantee you. You will not be it through and throughout. Yes.
What is this peacock feathers for Krishna?
Yeah. We're taking him a little higher. He's not on that level of God realization, but he's on Paramatma. He talks about the Holy Spirit. He's Paramatma realized. And the Christians do believe in a personal God. So in that result, they have their pluses. They also have their minuses. They eat meat but we have to take from it what we can, and we add on, right? My idea here is I take this and then I take it to our level. We don't get stuck at that level. We add it to our level of realization. Just like the person who's a yogi, he's higher than a Brahman realization person. Or non-realization person won't be a non-realization person. Okay? Did you mark yourself? Okay, let's move a little faster now. We're in gear. Ready? And hold the questions. Number 3. Teachers are responsible because they control subject, style, and speaker.